My name is Dennis and welcome to the behind the scenes commentary for the Keto Pizza Crust version 2.0, the video where I kind of go over the previous feed and discuss sort of the issues, the problems of making the recipe, making the video, and how I filmed it. So let's get started. Now, one of the things with the intro of this video is I wanted to show that I really had tried just tons of iterations. I mean, one of the weeks, I think I went through like 30 something iterations. And that's me. And the thing is, I really do have a pizza problem. It's one of those things where I can literally name you 2 points in my life where I legitimately avoided pizza. One was because I was stupidly full and couldn't even eat anymore. And the second was I actually had the willpower. Now, this scene here, this is sort of a character that I'm going to try, I've introduced, and he's going to be recurring. And this scene was actually really difficult to set up. I actually had to set it up in my room. I had to put a black drop on the back. It's a 3-point lighting system, and it was really all for a matter of 3 seconds maybe of filming. I'm really trying to convey kind of the old school Bond villain. I forgot which one it was that had the eye patch, but just some funny things here that I'm trying to kind of link together if you can figure it out, maybe. It's not obvious, but it's also not intentional what I'm trying to do, but eventually.
Mr. D, the man dedicated to making bad things happen.
I actually had a lot of things planned for Mr. D, but the overall story arc didn't make sense because it would have made the video so much longer and made no more sense. Because I was actually supposed to introduce him later on in the video, but you kind of have to introduce your villain early on. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, well, who's this guy coming out of nowhere? Why is he ordering pizza? Or is that what he's doing? I'm not sure. I know a lot of you asked about sugar and whether it's actually in the crust. The yeast eats the sugar. That's science. Whether it eats all of it, you know, I'm not a scientist. I've looked at some of the studies in terms of the fermentation rates. Let's say it has 6 grams of carbs at the end of the fermentation of 3-4 hours. That's still 9 grams of carbs per slice. So it's still not bad. It's still pretty dang good. And I know a lot of you guys have tried the pizza and it's been really good. If you par bake it 3 to 5 minutes, you can kind of get a little bit better crisp on it, but it works really well. The pizza is really good. It's the closest that I think we've come to a really good pizza. The weird part is I even explained in the video that the yeast eats the sugar. I don't understand how some people keep asking, like, how dare you put sugar into something? Sugar is not the enemy. We're not trying to completely avoid it. Doing low carb and keto is just limiting your intake. It's just part of the... So what's funny is this scene was actually the first thing I filmed. And I filmed it probably 3-4 days before I even started filming everything else. For some reason, I've gotten in this knack where when I start filming and if I have a door scene, I just start filming the door scene first. I don't know why. It's probably just because I have to move my lights and all that stuff just over the front door and in and out. And it's really crazy. My neighbors probably look at me and think this is an Influencers in the Wild, which if you don't follow the account, follow it for sure on Instagram. I actually kept forgetting my lines on this. I had to keep reading one by one and then recording at a time.
I'm allergic to gluten. Throw it away.
And I don't know if anybody noticed, but I actually filmed this part almost as 2 different people, which is evident. But the pizza delivery guy hadn't shaved. And I actually did that on purpose to try and distinguish myself between me as me and me as a delivery guy. Whether it was obvious, I have no idea. But I tried.
Jeez.
Or you could just have a bite.
Although a bite is not going to.
Something else everybody else freaked out about is like, I can't believe you ate real pizza. That's actually one of the versions of the low carb pizza because I had so much that I actually had it in the fridge and used that inside of the box. The box we got from a pizzeria it was nice and clean. It was a bunch of teenagers and we simply asked, hey, can I get a box? And that's how I got it because I couldn't, if I had ordered real pizza, I would have eaten it. So that's actually one of the versions of the low carb pizza. This is one of the not great ones, which is why I had leftovers. But I did end up eating all that low carb pizza.
As the yeast blooms, it's time to prepare the dry ingredients. To the device with multiple spinning machines.
Using the food processor simplifies this process immensely. I know a lot of emotions have been expressed about this is too much work. This is no more work than if you were to make pizza at home naturally with real flour, real, double lot, semolina flour. It's literally no more work. If anything, it's actually less because you don't have to sit there and eat it so long. And the gelatin was a eureka moment. I'm literally doing taste tests with the crust myself and some other people, and I cannot get the crust to stay moist. I can get it crunchy, but that's because it gets too much heat, but it would just dry it out. And for some reason, I said, how about if I put some glucosamine powder in there? And that worked marvelously. But I know it's not the most common ingredient to find, and xanthan gum just doesn't work. And then I said, what about gelatin? And this is the key ingredient that makes this crust, gives it somewhat of a nice chew, but also keeps it nice and moist. And it's pretty easy to find. I mean, it's. But if you're doing sort of a V, and you can use konjac powder. I think even guar gum works pretty well. I haven't tried it because of my testing. Guar gum it didn't make the final cut. It's also one of the ingredients that's not as common. So I wanted this recipe to be something that was super common with things you can find pretty much everywhere, except of course the lupin flour, because everybody has trouble finding that. Just don't use strawberry flavored gelatin because it might be good. Who knows? But I don't recommend it. The one thing that I struggled with was figuring out the right amount of yeast. If you made the first version of the pizza crust, it was overly yeasty. And that was something that Wes from High Falutin Low Carb pointed out. He's like, it smells really yeasty. It's very yeasty. And upon trying it again, it really was. So this pizza is actually twice the amount of the first version. And that's because to get that amount of yeast in half would just be insane. So we doubled it and makes a double bigger pizza. Man, this pizza is so good. This yeast actually didn't bloom that much for some reason, but it worked out. I mean, I don't know why. I don't know. But if it doesn't get that little foamy head, then your yeast is probably dead. Just start over. And doing that, I was kind of put into my head and trying to hear the bubbles, kind of like a fizzy. If you don't hear fizz, it's also probably dead. This is a pro tip right here. Swirl it around the yeast, get all that stuff in there, and use cold water. If you use hot water, it's going to heat up even more in the food processor, and that's basically going to cause it to just be really bad. You want to keep your yeast alive. They're very finicky.
Pulverizes the dough for 45 to 60 seconds max.
Once the dough is done, and after it's proofed, you can kind of flatten it out, make sort of individual pizzas, put them in freezer bags, put in your freezer. It works super well. If you put the dough ball in your freezer before you proof it, one, it's not going to have any growth, and two, you'd have to defrost it completely. It's going to be flat. It's not going to grow. So stick it in your freezer after you proof it.
Cover the container with a breathable layer.
So this, I struggled so much with whether I should leave this in because it doesn't portray, it doesn't further the story. But at the same time, this is a legitimate struggle. And I know people struggle with this. Like this thing took me probably 7 minutes to actually get on there. And I don't know why I struggled so much. And a bigger piece of paper wouldn't have helped. I would have to do a double ply and it's a huge waste of paper. But I can never do this. And the thing is, you can use a cheesecloth or something, but I didn't have a cheesecloth that was small enough. I wasn't going to cut it. And I wanted it to have thin enough where it's breathable. So you can actually see in the corner that I use for the yeast, I could use that. But paper towel works really well. This is one of the few times I've actually enjoyed the fact that I live in Florida because the garage is so hot. The funny part was as I'm filming this stuff, these happened to be the few days in Florida at this time that ended up being cool. One of the days it was 60 degrees outside, which is abnormally rare. I'm like, how do I proof this dough? And I'm trying to tell people to put it in your garage where it's nice and warm if you have one. And that's where I came up with the idea of putting it in the car. And I tried it in the trunk, and I also tried it in the back seat. The reason I said in the trunk is because of the back seat, you can get sunlight directly on it. But if you cover it, you can mitigate that risk because you don't want it to get too hot. I actually recommend putting it in your back seat, crack the window so it doesn't get too hot. Keto Sam I Am did this, and she put it in her trunk. And she cooked the dough. The dough actually cooked. It'd still probably be good. She said it was like half cooked, so it started getting hard. If you do put it in your trunk and that does happen, you can just still roll it out and still cook it. It's kind of like a part baked per se. But if you do put it in your trunk, make sure you live in a somewhat moderately cool area because it gets really hot in your car. And if not, put it in your back seat and crack the windows. But this method works really well, and your car's going to smell delicious.
Just be sure it's not too hot.
The funny part is some people are like, why is he talking about getting leaves in his thing? Like, why is he covering it for leaves? And then you get to this part. And yeah, that legitimately saved me from getting leaves inside my dough. Cover it, let it breathe, especially if there's bugs, all sorts of stuff. Keep it in there. This scene is not how I wanted it to go.
Deeper and deeper into the heart.
The music worked really well, but the purpose of this scene for me, what I wanted to do in this scene was I wanted to have myself and then sort of have the evil me and the non-evil, or not evil and non-evil, but sort of the one that has the willpower and the one that doesn't have the willpower. And sort of one saying like, oh, just eat it. Like it's one slice. What's it going to do? And the other person, the willpower me is saying, this happened last time. You know what happened last time. This happens every time. And I'm sure a lot of you can associate with this of, oh, just one slice. And well, I had one, so why not two? Well, I had two, well, screw it. We'll start again tomorrow. Today's a cheat day. And next thing you know, every time's a cheat day and there's never just one slice. I don't know how to overcome this other than try to mitigate it by just eating the cheese, eating a low-carb pizza, which is why I'm here, which is why I eat wheat, gluten, and all these other things a lot of people it's a C word. I forget which one it is, but crossover between different things. Like a lot of people think like, oh, keto is gluten-free and intermittent fasting. Keto is literally just low carb. Doesn't matter as long as you hit your kind of like your macros of staying within a specific limit of carbs. That's it. There's literally no delineation like, hey, you can't eat sugar. You can eat sugar on keto if you want, as long as you don't go past that threshold. Same with low carb. I said it before, I don't particularly necessarily do keto. I just do low carb, and I kind of aim around 50 carbs a day, 100 carbs a day, depending on the day and whatnot. It just ends up that most of the things end up being keto. There's no such thing as keto ingredients either. It's just low carb, high fat most of the time, moderate protein, and obviously depending if you're an athlete or whatnot, if you want to know how much protein you want to eat. But this scene was just me supposed to start going down this rabbit hole, and I kind of wanted to allude to the Heart of Darkness. If you ever read the book, fantastic book, and it's just the I was trying to show the distress and how I just kind of go into this weird madness. So I'm laid on my floor in my goddamn chicken. That's a throw out to you guys who are fans. Everybody else is like, what's this chicken about? My buddy was like, why are you wearing a yellow tie? The original idea was kind of hangover-esque, where I would just wake up somewhere and go, oh, what's happened? Like, where am I? But still, at this point, we're kind of under COVID quarantine type things. Not everything's open. It would have been great if I could just end up on a rooftop somewhere. But I don't know enough people yet. Enough people don't know me, so I can't really get access to a rooftop somewhere. Also, terrified of heights. But that's what this is supposed to show. It wasn't supposed to be anything special. Just
Place an order. Extra cheese.
Luckily, while he was chasing,
extra cheese from Sam's Club, or just Sam's Club, not Sam's Club, Costco. I don't know why you guys put like 4 pounds of cheese on there, but I love you for it. Even though I usually can't. Now this growth here is legitimate. The first time I proofed it in the garage and I went back and got it, it actually blown out the container. I was so shocked. I was like, okay, I might be onto something. Like I said, a lot of people have part baked the dough and it works really well. It gives a nice little crispiness.
You know, you were here like 4 hours ago.
I think that receipt in my hand was from a light that I bought. It's one of these lights that I'm actually using here, and I had it on hand. So the premise here is the delivery guy forgets easily, and I think I portrayed what I was trying to do here is that the locked in the garage, it's locked away. I don't even want it in the house, but the delivery guy's well, he can't eat it, so he left it. And so I kind of go back to doing what I need to do. And I tried this with the baking tray, the one that's aerated kind of thing, and it just didn't work. It stuck. I'm very lazy in a sense. Like when I make something, I hate having to wash after. And this seemed to be one of the best ways. But the thing is, you can actually do it on a pizza steel and a stone because of the fact that it doesn't have any cheese. And I kind of go over that in the question and answer stuff, questions in the future, which is coming up now. It's really difficult sometimes to film some of these scenes because what I wanted here was for the pizza box to be opening. It just sort of like this dark depth of just abyss. I tried it. I tried to open the box from the back, and it would have taken me probably 5 hours of frame by frame editing. It's too many, and I think I accomplished the same thing. Now, the one trick here is that there's a lot of light going into this box from just ambient light. So what I did is to get that darkness is I actually threw a black towel in there, and it makes a big difference. Like I surprised myself as well that it works so well because it just kind of absorbed all the light and didn't let anything reflect out of it. But that was one of the things. Like that is literally what it looks like in there. It's just a black towel sort of soaking it in. As I'm editing this scene, all I'm thinking of is chicken and sort of the stare-offs that we have. But she's not part of this. I had so much trouble finding what's his name? It's not Goku. That's look.
Hey, get out of here.
What? What's Baby Yoda's name? He's literally sitting right back there. Oh, what's his name? Oh, let me know down below. I can't remember right now. This is this is an intentional thing to hopefully maybe piss off somebody or make somebody laugh. It's Star Wars, but I'm playing the Lord of the Rings theme, you know. And it was just kind of a way of like, hey, Yoda's there to center me, focus, but at the same time, I needed something to kick it back into gear. Making that rim makes a world of difference. If you fold it over, the pizza kind of it'll unfurl and burn and stuff. Making that weld really makes a big difference. I actually don't like red sauce on pizza. I mean, I do, don't get me wrong, but I'm not a big fan of it. I like a white pizza, which I'll do that eventually. This pissed me off so much. I'm in the middle of filming and I go to the back oven and the damn light is off. That literally screws up everything, the damn lighting scene. The unfortunate part is I thought I didn't have any lights because there's sort of these weird halogen lights. So I went ahead and ordered some, and it turns out I have one in my closet. The reason this is maddening is because if I had to film something, one, I didn't have the light, and two, I had to wait for the lights to get here. I'm just glad that there's LED lights now for pretty much everything because they're stupidly cheap and last forever, and they don't crack. Let me know what you guys think about this part. This is sort of a way where I thought I can address things that I know I'm going to get asked without put it in the video, but put it in the video where it's not necessarily part of the storyline, but it's me addressing you guys and telling you what I came up with. A lot. And you guys need questions about, can I use coconut flour? Can I use this instead of that? This recipe was developed in the way where the certain proportions of everything work with precision. Literally the difference of a gram makes a huge difference in the overall recipe. And that's something that is sort of unique to low carb cooking. Like you can kind of get away with having a little bit more flour, a little more sugar and regular baking, but in low carb cooking, it makes a world of difference. And especially this recipe. And it's really not that much ingredients. I mean, if you want pizza, you have to do something, or otherwise you're just going to eat the pizza. But this is an attempt. Let me know if this was something you guys enjoyed or didn't enjoy. Of course, that's later in the video, so a lot of people may not get to it. I actually haven't looked at the analytics for this video, so I don't really know who liked what or what liked who. I cared, but I think this video to me was tight. Obviously, there's a lot of shenanigans in my videos. That's my style. So what I try to break things up in videos so it's not monotony. And I completely forgot about that burp from oh gosh, what's his name? Steve, help me out. That wasn't a real burp. It was just me going, It's not real. Hate to tell you.
Cheese or dairy in dough.
The key part to some of this stuff is timing. Based on my Keto Crust version 1 or my Pizza Crust version 1,
that should solve the problem. But
I can agree with like what Wes said. It's like, hey, this pizza takes a day and a half in the fridge. One, it was a mistake to put it in the fridge because it kind of cooled off the yeast and didn't let it ferment, or not ferment, let it proof more than it would have. Two, a day in advance. I know I'm going to want pizza on Friday, Saturday, weekend, that sort of stuff. But man, it takes so much work. But I could handle 3 hours before. And that's where this crust shines. Is that like, hey, I want pizza for dinner. I'm going to throw this stuff in a blender, proof it. It's good. And the beauty of it is you can pre-pack the dry ingredients. A lot of people have told me you should just package this and sell it. I know, but I don't have the time, and I don't know. I don't have any connections in the industry, and it's easy for you guys to do. You can separate, put in a quart container in a bag. When you go to make it, throw in the food processor, throw in the water, proof the yeast, which is literally the hardest part is proofing the yeast. I can't even think what the words are anymore. Is it proofing? I need help. I need somebody here. I need a Jamie. It's making that yeast grow. That's the hardest part. Other than that, throw it in a blender, throw the stuff, mix it, throw it in a container, put it in a garage, put it in your oven if you don't have anything with a hot pan at the bottom so you actually get some temperature. Works fantastic. It's sort of similar to the mug cake where you can kind of have it, the dry ingredients mixed and ready to go, and then you just pour some out, add an egg, add some butter, go for it, which is fantastic. A great sweet tooth saver. Again, I need to iterate. When I say something specifically like, don't try to be a hero, I absolutely mean it. And I hope I can build that trust with you all so you can believe me when I say it. I've gotten a lot of messages from people who said, hey, I thought you were a big, I thought you were kidding or you were joking when you said, oh, you can't eat a whole pizza. I can eat a whole pizza, whatever. And they eat the whole pizza and they regret it. Trust me, this pizza is filling. It might be low carb, but it's still high in calories. If you eat the whole pizza, it's about 2,000 calories. It's a lot. It's a lot, but worth it. But a whole pizza, it will knock you out. Trust me. Trust me. If anybody was keeping time, the time in here is actually not real. Movie magic. What can I tell you? Oh, man. I still remember the first time I did the pizza and it grew in the oven. I was so stoked. I started sending pictures to all my friends. I started sending pictures to some other people that I collaborate with. I was so impressed and so just elated with the fact that it worked. I can't express how happy I was. And this version or the first version is just leaps and bounds. Like it's not even close. And even this picture here, this snippet doesn't really do it justice. It's so good. Oh, it was so good. But it just takes some time. I do need to get a pizza steel and a pizza stone so I can have both. Surprised I don't. Some people said you need to use a real oven. Like, yeah, great, but I don't. Who has a wood fired oven in their home? I would love to have a wood-fired oven, but I want to be dangerous because I'd be making pizza all the time. But nobody has that. And there's a sort of level of being pragmatic to a lot of this stuff. Is like, hey, I can make a double sous vide smoked thing in a wood-fire oven. But like, okay, well, who has a sous vide cooker? Who has a smoker? And who has a wood-fire grill? It's like pizza oven. Not many people. I mean, it's very, very niche. So that's one of the ways I try to approach recipes is having sort of common ingredients as well, things that are easy. Granted, with low carb, you start getting into a lot of gums like guar gum, xanthan, locust bean, and some of that stuff starts to get expensive. But if you really are serious about doing low carb and keto, they're things you're going to have to get eventually. Because if you want to replicate certain recipes or certain textures, I mean, it's how you have to do it. And that is a lot of people say like, oh, this is not healthy. And a lot of these things really just come from plants. Locust bean is a ground up seed from a plant that's been used for thousands of years, I think, over in, where is it? Like Greece, I think. Is it guargum? I think it's guargum. It's been used in India for hundreds of years. It's just a ground up root. So it's just a lot of things you'll have to get eventually. And they're expensive at first, but I mean, they last forever. I had a packet of xanthan gum that lasted me like 5 years. This scene was actually a lot more difficult to film than I thought it would be. It was stupidly windy outside for some reason, and I knew that as soon as I threw away the box, I couldn't film it again. So I actually had to do it twice, but so that box is gone. I would have loved to have kept it for future versions. And this is sort of I'm kind of trying to connect the pig with Mr. D. They're both kind of on the same side. It reminded me that I was kind of aiming for Inspector Gadget. I forget the evil guy's name, but he always had the cat. He was always petting the cat. That was kind of the premise of it. But he's going to be a recurring character. You'll see him a lot. And I have some ideas for him. But this pizza, the quest isn't over. Much thanks to my Patreon supporters. The quest isn't over. This is just version 2.0. We're going to have more. One of the things that I think we're going to go into next is really trying to find substitutes for the almond flour and even just improving the dough. Maybe something like a sourdough pizza crust, which will take time. It will take effort. But I think there's going to be a lot of things learned. I'm planning on doing sort of going down some of the bread routes, seeing what we learned there and what we can bring back to the pizza recipe and do pizza 3.0, maybe even pizza 2.1, 2.2, 2.5, 2.0.1 if you know what version tags are, Chris. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm currently working on the keto French fry recipe. It's a fantastic recipe. It's based on Heavenly Fan's base fry recipe, however you want to say it. So thanks to her. Thank you all for supporting the channel. And until next time, eat well.